Okay, so honestly, I don't even know if I'm gonna post this video or not. I'm still on the fence about it, whether it feels right to do this or maybe that's not something that I really need right now. But I decided to do it anyway, at least just to try to record it, just to see how it goes. If we have a mental breakdown, we have a mental breakdown on our hands. Well, it was meant to happen. But yeah, today's video is going to be very, very, very different from what I normally do. However, it's not an alien topic to me at all. Mental health has been something that I've been struggling with for, well, I can't say for how long, but probably since 2016, 17. That's probably as far as I can trace it. I basically don't remember my life pre 2016. I It's all a blur. It's all a blur. Lots of things happening, lots of trauma. Um, there is nothing. I've had a pretty good life up until 2016. Lots of things happening, but ever since then, it all went downhill. And here I am in 2025. I'm almost 24. I'm gonna be 24 in December. I'm unemployed. I dropped out of uni, and I have nothing going for me, nothing in my life going on, nothing that I'm interested in particularly, and no goal to chase, pretty much. So yeah, as you can tell, this video is probably going to be very, very mopey. I'm sorry, I'll try to keep it as lighthearted as I possibly can, but I do want to point out a few trigger warnings if you're as mentally unstable as I am. There will be a lot of talk about, very unpleasant thoughts, very violent thoughts, lots of talk about apathy, about how it affects me and how it affects my future, if there is even one. And just be mindful. I really don't want to make. Just be mindful. The goal of this video is not to make anyone uncomfortable or to trigger your own mental issues. I'm mostly doing this video for myself since, I can't afford therapy since I'm unemployed. This video thing is free, so basically it's almost like I'm having a therapy session with myself. But just for context, I did do therapy. I did go through therapy from 2022 to maybe 2024. I'm not sure. I'm almost positive that 2024 was the last therapy session that I had. And ever since then, it's been nothing. It's been no therapy, and no psychiatrist, no nothing. So today I just want to retrace my steps, I guess, and recollect everything mental health related that happened to me, and maybe see if there is anything that comes of it. Maybe if I vocalize the things that I'm thinking about, maybe it will help me realize certain things. Maybe it will give me some perspective. I don't know. Basically, this video is for me. So yeah, I might not even post it. I might just record it and then say, wow, that is a shit idea. And I'd much rather not show that to the world. But we'll see. So I suppose we should start from the beginning. Let's go all the way back to 2016. So in 2016, I was diagnosed with a disease. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it correctly in English. I think it's sarcoidosis. It's like tuberculosis, but sarcoidosis. It's very difficult to pronounce. Trust me. I know, but it's very similar to tuberculosis. It's basically a lung disease. You just, you start to feel weak in the first stages. You're out of breath easily. Your skin turns a bit more pale. And at later stages, you start to cough a lot, and it ends up with you coughing up blood and eventually just dying. But of course, dying is like the last absolute final outcome. It's obviously by the time that happens, you will already know that something's going on with you, and you have plenty of time to treat that disease, which is actually a little bit interesting because, well, it's been a while since I've done some reading on that. I used to a lot, but at the time that I got diagnosed with it, our modern medicine could not even tell where it comes from. It just does. And usually in 35 to 40-year-old women and men, I wasn't 35 when I was 14 or 15. If it's 2016, I was 14 at the time. Yeah. And the treatment process has been interesting. No one really knew what to do with me. And since I come from a small town, obviously we couldn't treat me here. So we were transferred to, basically the capital, and we jumped from hospital to hospital basically because literally no one knew what to do with me, because this is usually a disease that, arises in adults, and I was a child. I was a literal child. So they tried to give me some medication, and it obviously wasn't working. It was just a temporary solution, just to, make sure it doesn't progress any further. And eventually I was assigned to a tuberculosis center, treatment center, sorry. And that's where I stayed throughout most of my treatment. I think I've spent there around 2 or 3 months. I think 2.5 months I spent there. And it wasn't a pleasant experience. It really wasn't nice. Well, at least emotionally, it wasn't very nice. Sorry, there's probably going to be a lot of cuts in this video. I'm trying not to break down as I recall all of this stuff. It's not very pleasant to remember these things. So yeah, it was very emotionally taxing, most of all because no one was really telling me what can I do. I felt very powerless. I was just dragged around from hospital to hospital, one test, second test, fifth test, 10th test, and no one was really telling me anything. I know I was a child, so obviously that information was kind of not meant for my ears anyways, but I remember at the time I felt particularly mad about this. I wanted to know what was going on. I needed to know, if I'm gonna die. Well, I was a bit of a drama queen, yes, but, it's not like... I think the dramatism here is a little bit warranted because, of the nature of the disease itself. And I remember I was separated from any of my relatives. Just so you know, we came to the capital. I already mentioned that, but we've basically never been there. We've been there a couple of times, and especially me, maybe my mother has been a bit more than me, but I've never been there. I don't know this place. And so basically, we asked the treatment center staff, can my mother stay with me or something like that? And they were like, well, no, bitch, no, she can't. And of course, that was a bit unpleasant. I know at 14, you can be left alone and all that stuff. And understand that now. Maybe from the side, it sounds like, oh my God, what are you, a mama's boy? Like, you can't even stay in a hospital all by yourself. And I can, obviously, I can. But, the circumstances were a bit different. They were different, they were difficult, they were very pressing, I would say, on my mental state. Okay, so since my mother wasn't allowed to stay with me, she basically begged the doctor to make sort of like an exception for her to at least, if she's not allowed to stay there, then she would at least like to visit me every day and like outside of the visitor hours. And they really didn't want to allow it for obvious reasons. Well, rules are rules. But they did make an exception because my case was a bit different than any other patient in the treatment center. I was 14 and I was the only child in that wing. Everyone else with me were basically 30 plus year olds. So yeah, that arrangement definitely helped. My mother was allowed to stay with me at least for the most of the day. And some of the things we've seen there, they weren't really all that pleasant. We've seen other patients that had, this is a tuberculosis center, and they were walking around with these. Oh, by the way, massive trigger warning, because what I'm about to tell you is not pleasant at all. It's very. See, I almost died just now. What I'm about to tell you is very not pleasant. So, fair warning. So these patients had these like humongous tubes coming out of their veins, or I wasn't really paying attention from where, but basically from their body. And these tubes would connect to like a little bit of a plastic container that they would just drag along with them. And in that container, there was like some sort of orangey fluid. I'm not sure what that is. Honestly, I was never brave enough to ask, like, what is that and how does that work? But some of the patients we saw one day and we didn't see them anymore. We weren't told, obviously, what happened to them because, well, they're kind of in a different wing. They're in the same center, but we were in different wings. And, well, it wasn't very difficult to suggest what happened to them. And so there was also often a car, coming around, a car for the ritual services, if you know what that is. So, yeah, that was also a little bit mentally damaging, I suppose. And so we need to really wrap this hospital bit because that's not even half of the story. What a sad sentence that is. So I forgot to mention, like, what does sarcoidosis really do? It basically, if you took an x-ray of your lungs, it looks like someone splashed water on your lungs, but instead of water, obviously, it's inflammation. And my lungs were covered in these spots. And they said that we could try to like cut it out, or I don't really know what they were trying to do, but they said that it would basically be impossible. Like, it's too much. There's basically no way to get all of that out without causing some sort of permanent damage to me. So obviously the doctors were looking for an alternative, and they decided to put me basically on like hormone therapy. I was drinking pills that contained hormones, and they said something along the lines of, well, he's 14, like he has his own hormones, like there is a chance that his body will bounce back on its own Like, we just need to give it a bit more of a push to basically heal from this. And that's what they did. They put me on hormones, and I was taking them for like many months. I don't even remember how many, like way after I was released. Like, I had to take them for quite some time. And they basically made me go through insane mood swings. Like, I don't remember anything, but my mother said that some of the things that I told to people around me and to her personally, well, they were like legitimately vile. Some of the things that I say, she says she still remembers some of the things that I told her, and I don't remember any of it. That's probably what scares me a little bit. And obviously, I didn't mean any of it, and she knew that I didn't mean any of it, but I can 100% imagine that it still hurts, you know? So that was also really fun to navigate. And after that, I believe this is where my mental struggles have really began. I don't really know if that was the catalyst, or maybe it was already. I don't know. I don't know anything about mental health. I don't know if it's like something you're born with, something you develop, something that causes it to happen. I don't know. It just happens, and it doesn't feel very good. I still remember it was 2017. September went okay. October is when shit got bad. It got very bad. So back then, I will try to describe you the feelings that I've had, or lack of feelings that I had. But obviously, it's been quite a while, and I don't remember everything in great detail. So for most of like October, November, and probably even December of 2017, I felt empty. I felt nothing. It felt like I was living in purgatory. I don't know how to correctly describe that feeling. It just, nothing would bring me happiness. Nothing. Even the things that I really enjoyed, like video games or like my favorite foods, nothing. And I would always be on the verge of tears, basically. And I could never focus on anything. I felt so lost. It almost felt like there was a constant noise in the back of my head that couldn't let me focus on anything. Like, all of my studies started going downhill. Everyone, literally everyone around me noticed that I was acting a bit strange. And just so you know, back then, mental health wasn't really taken seriously in Russia. I suppose that's also like what is wrong with my hair? I suppose that's also like a valuable tidbit that I can offer you to give you like a glimpse of the mental health scene in Russia. And back in 2017, it was not taken seriously at all. So everyone was like, "Why are you like that? Like, oh my God, I can't even talk to you. Like, you're not communicating. Like, stop. Just don't do it." Well, obviously not a lot of people. Most people were afraid to say anything too mean to me because of the disease that I had. I honestly couldn't tell you why. I don't know how saying something can be affected by the disease that I had a year prior, but I don't know. I just noticed that after I came back from the hospital, everyone, literally everyone, started treating me differently. Even my bullies at school, they were almost avoidant of me. And so I changed from being bullied to basically being ghosted by the entire classroom, except for a few of my friends. One time I remember before the lesson started, my homeroom teacher actually noticed that I was moping, that I didn't quite listen to anyone around me. And she caught a moment when I was alone, and she asked, "Hey, like, are you okay? Is everything good?" And it it broke me. That one single question absolutely destroyed me. I basically started ugly crying in front of her. Thank God no one else was there. Thank fuck no one was there to see that. That in and of itself is already embarrassing that my homeroom teacher saw me like that. If anyone else had been there, I would have. I think I'm not supposed to say that on YouTube. So we're gonna let that joke slide. But yeah, I wouldn't have been very happy with that outcome. And on top of all that, I also started getting massive, massive blood pressure problems. The ones that I still have today. And I actually had to go to our local hospital to get treated very, very regularly to, try to make it lower. My blood pressure is always higher than it should be. I'm pretty sure there's a word for that. I know it in Russian, but I don't know it in English. I'm sure if you're watching, you can probably either know it or you can look it up. But there is a name for people who have like higher blood pressure than normal, basically at all times. So yeah, that also added basically one more hospital visit. I was, getting some injections and some procedures. It was definitely not as bad as the 2016 hospital incident, but it was still, it just felt like I was back there. It felt like I hadn't gotten rid of hospitals. And also on top of I'm not going to call it depression, and I will tell you why a bit later on, but I don't want to call it depression because I never got diagnosed with depression per se. And after some time passed, that feeling that I described to you before, it just went away. I don't know what do I even attribute that to? Like, did something help? Did I just survive it? I don't know. But I didn't do anything particular. Like I said, mental health wasn't taken seriously by anyone. I'm not just putting that on my family or on me. It just wasn't an accepted thing in our country. And so I was never taken to a psychologist. I was never taken to a psychiatrist. And I never thought that I had a mental problem. I thought that, it was just how I'm feeling. I didn't think it was an issue. I just thought that it's just that period of my life where I just feel like that. But that would be very, very wrong. That would be extremely wrong. We jump to 2022. That is probably the year that I would describe as one of the worst years of my life. So many things happened, and none of them were nice. None of them at all. So in 2022, I was already at uni. I was actually almost finished with uni. I was on my third year, I believe, out of 4, just in case. I don't really know about the education systems in other countries, but in Russia, in order to get a bachelor's degree, you're supposed to study for 4 years. I was on my third year, basically the second half of my third year. And that's when the same feeling came back. I'm pretty sure it happened between 2017 and 2022 as well. I'm just forgetting it. But this one hit very differently and very unexpectedly. So I felt basically the same way. I felt lost. I started to feel like the studies that I'm doing are not what I want, even though I wasted 3 years on them already. I couldn't I couldn't fall asleep anymore. I started having really bad insomnia. I would go to bed at like 12 a.m., like in the night, and I would just roll around on my bed trying to sleep until 5 or sometimes 7 a.m. I just couldn't. There were so many thoughts in my head, none of them nice. And it got so bad that I physically couldn't bring myself to go to classes anymore. I remember that the people around me, like my group mates and some of the teachers as well, they were really worried because before that I had almost almost perfect attendance. There were some cases where I had to skip classes, but mostly they had a reason, like a valid reason, like I needed a hospital visit or something like that. But this time was very different. I didn't have a reason. I just couldn't. I couldn't force myself to get up and go to classes. It was just I don't really know how to describe it to you. It sounds silly, but it felt like it wasn't possible for me to get up and go to classes. And I remember I felt very guilty about it because my attendance has basically gone out the window. I stopped coming to classes at all. All of my teachers have lost me. They're like, where is he? Like, is he sick? Like, what is going on with him? And my group mates were also very worried. They said, like, hey, like, is everything good? Can you come back? Like, we're all waiting for you. Teachers are very nervous about you. Like, what's going on? Well, honestly, I was very lucky with my environment. I had the best group mates ever. Like, I couldn't ask for a better group. And the teachers were also very understanding towards most of the issues that I had. Like, anytime I did finally make myself show up for classes, teachers were very happy. They asked me how I was, and they said, like, well, yeah, like, you lost a lot of attendance points, but we can figure something out. Like, I'll give you some extra tasks. You'll catch up. Like, don't worry, this is fixable. It's not the end. Like, just please show up. Like, please just be here, be with us. And and I remember that this made me feel even more guilty because I genuinely couldn't find a reason. Most of the days, like I said, I couldn't even sleep. There were times where I haven't been sleeping for almost 24 hours, and it completely destroyed me physically, mentally, and at some point I lost all goodwill. Basically, most teachers said that I'm sorry you skipped so much. Like, I couldn't possibly pass you on this, subject or something like that. And like, I couldn't show up anymore at all. I basically spent most of my days at home. I couldn't stand being out and about. I couldn't stand being in bright light. Basically, the curtains of my room were constantly closed, and I would just cry. I would just cry a lot. I had so many breakdowns during that time, and I didn't even know why. That's what was bothering me most of all. I was feeling all of this guilt, all of this pressure, all of this. I don't even know, all of this, maybe not sadness, but there was something brewing inside, there was something going on, and essentially it turned into something very sinister, something that I really don't like admitting to anyone, but this is a video for me. And most times when I would go out on the street, like whether to go shopping or anything like that, I would always hope that like I would get run over by a car, or I would go by construction sites and just hope that they have like an accident and like a brick would like fucking split my skull open as it falls accidentally from the construction site. And whenever I came home, I would just start to basically break down and cry because none of it happened to me. Well, basically what I'm trying to say is I was too much of a pussy to kill myself. And in 2022 is when mental health talk is actually started gaining traction in our country. And actually my brother also has a lot of mental health issues, and by 2022 he has been in contact with a psychologist. And I didn't believe in that at first because, well, of the way I was raised. I was raised like not believing in that. And I didn't want to sign up for any sort of like psychologist bullshit, as I thought back then, until I dropped out. I decided that I can't do this anymore, and I just dropped out of university. I couldn't keep up with my studies, and my my debts, my academic debts would start to pile up. Like there are so many tasks, there are so many scientific work that I needed to do, and our uni was ruthless. It was ruthless. It was the tasks that we had to do, we had to spend like 5 hours on one, and we had 4 subjects next day. So we basically have 4 homeworks, and you would spend 5 hours on one of them. So that was lovely. And so I decided to drop out, mostly because there is like a way back. They do say like you have, when you quit, when you drop out, you have 5 years to come back. So I decided that I maybe can do this. And obviously none of my family members were happy. Everyone started saying really mean shit about me. I'm not saying that most of that was untrue. Maybe it was true, but the timing was horrendous. Like I was very fragile at the moment, and well, one of my family members, I'm not gonna point fingers, but one of my family members even said like, I honestly think like you're faking all of this. Like if you have a problem, you will sign up for a psychologist or something, but I don't think you do. I don't think you have a problem at all. And obviously, me being me back then, I locked myself in my room and I cried for like 30 minutes nonstop. Yeah, sounds fun, I know. And so I started my therapy path. Like basically the next day, I signed up for an online service. Like think BetterHelp, but not really. Like a different different site. Obviously, we don't have BetterHelp in Russia. So it was like a different site where I got in touch with a psychologist and we started working through my issues. Okay, it's honestly a little bit too hot in here and I'm getting emotional, so the cardigan's off. It's serious now. Now we move on to 2023 because 2023 was a new low for me. Yay, love that. So I was fine throughout 2022 to 2023, end of 2020, no, not end of 20, August 2023. I was fine. Since I dropped out of uni, I moved back with my mom. And I was just, doing my thing. I was just going to therapy. I was trying to find like any reasons for the way I behave or the way I feel sometimes. And everything has been going fine. Like honestly, it was almost, I don't even know what word to use here. It was almost unbelievable. It was almost unbelievable because, when you think about it, therapy is just talking to another person. Granted, that person does know a lot about psychology. They are very perceptive. They know what things you normally do, when you lie, when you don't lie. They pick up on clues that you yourself are putting down and you're not even aware of it. There were so many times where my therapist caught me off guard by saying like, you used to say this, but now you say that. Why? And I'm like, did I? Did I say that? And it's basically how it works. These sort of questions make you reflect on changes, make you reflect on what needs to change. And like I said, everything was going well until August 2023. Basically, when August 2023 hit, the same feeling came back, and it came back with a vengeance. Honestly, this time, nothing was working. No matter how many sessions with my therapist I had, no matter how seemingly happy I'm supposed to be because I'm unemployed, I'm not in uni, so basically I'm a home sitter. I'm basically, I'm constantly at home. I don't have to work. Like my grandparents give me a small allowance to, cover for like miscellaneous things that I might want. And something went very wrong in August. I couldn't fight that feeling anymore. Nothing helped. Nothing that usually helped did anymore. And the thoughts that I mentioned, about the car and the brick thing, they came back. They came back and they started to evolve. And as soon as I told my therapist that, he said that, well, this looks like it's falling a little bit out of my jurisdiction now. And he's like, I strongly suggest that you talk to a psychiatrist. And he wasn't actually the first one to suggest that. The first one to suggest that was my mother. She actually said that if you're feeling worse, like if it's not helping you, maybe it's time to explore a different solution like your brother did, and it kind of helps him. But I was like, no, I would never need a psychiatrist. Aged like milk. And so, after a little bit of convincing, I did give in and I decided that yes, I should go see a psychiatrist. And I went there, I told him everything, and I was diagnosed. I'm not sure if that's something you can be diagnosed with. He basically wrote not depression, but like depressive episode. I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure if that's like a diagnosis. I'm pretty sure it's not. But that's what the psychiatrist wrote, a depressive episode. So that's why I'm not really adamant about calling that depression what I have. And I was also medicated. That's the first time that I got a prescription for antidepressants. And I was very, very scared. I didn't really know what that did to you. Like what kind of pill is that and why does it make you feel the way that it does? Like basically everyone has been telling me that this is not a pill that makes you feel good. It's not a pill that will solve all of your problems. It's a pill, well, basically that resets you to zero. It's complete void. It's basically blank. It turns you into a blank page. Yes, you're not feeling great. Yes, you're not feeling good, but at least you don't feel like you want to, get run over by a car. And I was like, you know what? Fair enough. Sign me up. Actually, when I got medicated, things have started looking up for me. I actually found a job at the moment. It wasn't too difficult. It wasn't too easy as well. I was a barista at a local coffee shop. It was okay. I'm introverted, so it was actually very bad. I lied because I had to work with people, and but my brain was craving something. When that job offer came in, like just the idea itself seemed attractive to my brain. I don't know why, but it just said like, yes, do it, take it. And you know what? I decided the brain wants what it wants. So I signed up, I started working, and I worked there for 6 months. And then I quit. Basically, for the same reason that I quit university, and for the same reason that I, never did anything with my life, because the same feeling came back. It started to come back. I started getting insane burnout and hardcore insomnia. So I decided that I needed to quit and maybe explore a different option for myself. And now we're here. Nothing, like, I can confidently say that since then, that was I think I quit my job at March 2024. We're now in November 2025, and I have nothing. I don't know. And lately, the same feeling has been creeping up on me, and that's why I decided to make this video. I decided that this time I want to basically look it in the eye, like this. And also, if someone is watching this, if someone is listening to this, I know how it looks from the side. Like, it looks like I'm just probably lazy, I'm unemployed, I basically live off of my relatives. And, well, I wouldn't say that all of that is false. Personally, I do believe there is merit in thinking that, but circumstances decide a lot about the situation itself. And obviously, there are some things that I can't really talk about, don't really want to say, at least for now. So obviously, I know that this probably doesn't seem like a lot, like I always feel like the problems that I'm experiencing, they don't deserve any attention. They don't deserve any sympathy. And that's why throughout, this whole process, I barely talked to anyone about this. I don't want to burden people with my bullshit anymore. And I would very much like to solve it myself if possible. That's a big if, because, well, I tried before, failed spectacularly. So now that we're in 2025, let's talk about more of my mental state currently. Honestly, whenever I imagine like a future for myself, I see nothing. I don't see myself having a job. I don't see myself having a family. I don't see myself being anything more than what I am now. In fact, I I I was always hoping that I just wouldn't be here by 30. So that's usually what I see when I look for the future. Um, Nothing. I see absolutely nothing. In terms of interests, like, how everyone's saying, like, follow your dreams, do what you want to do. But I don't want to do anything. I don't feel interested. I feel like I just don't care. I don't care about anything. I barely care about myself. Like I eat once a day, if that. I brush my teeth like once in 3 days. I have like a toothache over here and I know something's wrong, but I just can't bring myself to a dentist. Even though, well, like I mentioned before, money is not a problem. Like I owe everything that I am to my relatives who have been supporting me all these years and they still are. And so I know that probably whatever happens, like if there's anything that is supposed to happen to get me out of this state, it needs to come from me. It's something that is fully dependent on me. I feel like I don't have the energy anymore to figure this out. I don't want to figure this out. I don't want anything. I don't know. Even even this whole channel that I have here, you can see that my upload schedule is very consistent. I always thought that I wanted this because, I watch a lot of content creators. I look up to a lot of content creators. Hell, I even have parasocial relationships with some of my content creators that I watch, but I'm not going to tell you which ones. And I always thought that maybe I could do the same. Maybe that's what interests me. And don't get me wrong, like the videos that I made on this channel, they were fun to make. I love editing. I learned it myself. I know it's minimal. I know it's bland, but at least I learned it myself. And I do it myself. Like there is no AI involved, no nothing. I do everything I do with my own hands. And basically no tutorials. Like I didn't even need a tutorial to figure out the editing software that I use. I used some tutorials for Photoshop, but that's because Photoshop is so damn difficult. And so this is where I am. Yeah. It's 2025. We're pushing 2026. I'm pushing 24. And you know what? The embarrassment and shame is not even creeping in. I think it's already taken hold because like I'm 24, I don't even have a job. I did have a job. That's probably like the only thing that, that is keeping me from throwing myself out the window, is because I had a job. I did something, and I'm pretty sure that if I ever have an opportunity like that again, I will take it. Like, it's not like I will actively reject a work offer, I suppose. But I don't see anything. Like, my parents and everyone among my relatives are expecting me to, return to uni and finish uni. But I just don't want to. I really don't care. Like, the reason I don't care about uni is because I don't have a dream job. I don't, like, why would I need a university degree when I will feel just as miserable working, like, with a degree as I would, like, while working as a barista? What's the point? Like, I can just get a job like this. Fortunately enough, we live in a world where you don't really need a degree to get a job. You always need people. Somewhere, everywhere, you always need people. And I'm like 100% sure. Like, that barista job that I had, it even paid well. It was above minimum wage, actually. It even paid well. I just don't see anything for myself. I don't see a future. I don't have any wishes. Like, what's my plan? Like, what do I want in the future? What kind of life would I like to lead? Nothing. No kind of life. I just don't want a life at all. And so that's what I've been boiling in recently, I guess. I'm still not sure if I'm going to post this video. If I will, it will probably be like the most embarrassing thing I've ever posted. And honestly, like, if you're in a situation like mine, I understand. Like, there is a lot of shame, there is a lot of guilt, there is a lot of embarrassment here. I understand, really. But we are still people. We're still people. We still deserve to be happy. We still deserve to be appreciated and all that. You cannot put yourself down because of your, like, social position. That's something that I had to learn the hard way. You always need to have your worth in mind, even when you feel like you're worth nothing. And I guess I just hope that for people like us, there is something good coming our way. Maybe an opportunity, maybe a chance, maybe something. But if you feel like there isn't a chance, there isn't hope, I completely understand, because I feel like that too. I think I should probably stop the video here. It's been very long. I know no one's probably gonna watch this, but like I said, this is mostly for me. I haven't broken down, which is commendable, I would say. And unfortunately, I'm pretty sure that I still held back a lot of the details, a lot of the thoughts that I have. But that's the thing with mental health. Like, if you went through something like I did, you don't even need me to voice all of my thoughts. You know them all too well. Taylor Swift reference. You know them all too well yourself. And if you don't get mental health at all, like if you're against all that woke bullshit or whatever you want to say, you will never get it. Like, no matter whether I tell you my whole life story, every single second of it, you will still not get it. So I hope that what I told you was enough. And like I said, if you are in the same boat as me, I really hope you find your way out. I really hope you find some opportunity, some chance to break through. I I guess I'm still waiting for mine. I just don't know. Right. Well, if you did watch this, I suppose I don't really have much to say, except for thanks for listening. If you want to leave a comment, about your experience, or maybe some words of support, or maybe words of mockery, that will be fine. I will be ignoring the words of mockery, though. So, yeah. I'm not even going to promise anything, like no videos, no nothing. Like I said, I barely have the capacity to get out of bed sometimes. I really shouldn't be making any promises about videos or content or anything like that. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll get the mental strength to do something, but as of right now, I don't know. So yeah. Thanks for watching and stay safe. And don't forget that even when you feel like there is like no one for you, there always is. There's always someone for you, someone worried, someone wishing you well. So yeah, don't forget that.